Well, Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews, you saw that evidence today. Joining me now, someone who knows his way around a courtroom very, very well, former criminal defence lawyer and current chairman of Southbank Capital, Mr. Francis Galbally, joins me now from Melbourne. Francis Galbally, you watched much of the evidence put forward by the Premier today. I want to ask you what you made of his response, that we no longer know, right through to the very, very top, who made this decision, made only months ago, in relation to private security quarantine in Victoria. How believable is that?
Well, I think my first comment would be this is an inquiry into attempting to explain how our government and the bureaucracy permitted the virus to kill so far 773 people, all Victorians. Now, in 2009, we had a Royal Commission into how 173 lives were lost as a result of devastating bushfires. The fire officers, the Chief Police Commissioner and others were scrutinised comprehensively to understand the systemic failures that caused those deaths. I don't think we've seen that sort of scrutiny in this inquiry. To me, it's incomplete. There are still answers the public demand. We've lost loved ones. Businesses will collapse. Jobs will be lost. We need to understand how this came about, and I don't think this inquiry has been able to get to the bottom of what has occurred. And shortly, we will have a financial Armageddon. The inquiry is not what the public deserve.
I want to ask you, let's start with the whole issue of who made the decision not to take ADF support, not to use Victoria Police, but instead to contract out without a tender a private security services for these hotels. How plausible is it? You're a company director. You understand too how government works. You're an informed commentator here with us tonight. How plausible is it that there has been upwards of 14 people, very senior ministers and officials, including now the Premier, front this inquiry, and not one person has taken responsibility for making this decision, nor can they recall who did make the decision?
Well, Peter, it's not plausible, and it's a disgrace, actually. And these people are paid hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayers' money, so I just think it's a disgrace. But I must say this, and I don't like to joke about what is a serious thing, but I think they all watched Maxwell Smart 55 years ago when he was before a commission of inquiry, and he didn't know anything about anything that Control did. And then they asked, why didn't you sack me? And he said, well, I know too much. And I think that's exactly the same for these bureaucrats and government ministers. They do know what happened. They haven't admitted they know what happened. And they are blaming other people and what they call this united decision. We all made the decision together, and that's disgraceful. And Peter, I have said this before to you, and I'll say it again. This needs a whole of country royal commission. We need the federal government to have a proper royal commission into quarantine arrangements within the states and what went wrong, what went right, how we learn from this. We need to understand how can states close down borders? Should they close them down the way they did, or should we do something different? And then a pandemic is in fact a national security issue. It is very much an issue that we need to understand how the federal government can actually take control of the issue and then direct the state governments as to what needs to occur. Now, I know there are constitutional issues relating to that, but that's what a Royal Commission should look at and make recommendations to the government and say, because of the national security issues, we need to have a whole-of-country response. And that's what we need to see now.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that's where the attention of Victorians will turn with this failure today to get to the bottom of what has been a catastrophic failure of government. We talked about that, but a loss of so many lives. Francis Galbally, thank you for your time.
My pleasure, Peta.